Joe, Dave, how is it going?
Well, pretty good, buddy. How you doing tonight?
I'm good.
We're all over the place. It's been a busy day.
It's been a busy week, man. This week has been killing me, man. Killing me.
Why?
I don't know, dude. Baby's crying. Still adjusting to the neck. I mean, there's just a lot going on, but it's just a lot going on.
Still adjusting to the neck.
Dude, do me a favor. Do me a favor real quick. Put up that picture of Neal one more time.
All right.
Because I want to see. I just noticed.
What's up? That
little tracker in the background. I thought that was me for about 5 seconds. Because that is the exact boat I fish out of with my partner, Brian Underwood. I was like, is he on my dang pile?
Does he wear a green shirt?
He does. Dude, it totally could be me.
Buddy, that might be you. Because it looks like you might have shaved. And it looks like your head could be a little bit larger than your shoulders there.
Dude, and Brian is a little thick. I mean, that could totally be us. We got to find out where he caught this fish.
Why you got to poach? Why you got to be poaching Neal, man? That's kind of wrong.
Poaching us, man. Look.
I don't know about that.
No, we're definitely
loaded down with electronics, bro. I think
you ain't got to poach no one, man.
I was going to say.
I think you're poaching him, bro.
I was going to say, man, if Neal's on the water, you definitely want to poach that guy because he has the spice, bro. He knows the fish. He actually talks to the fish with the electronics. But dude, I could have sworn that was me for real for a few seconds. I'm like, what is going on right now?
Man.
But I'm excited to talk to him and see what he's got going on because
he's crazy. He's come a really long way. I mean, he's another young success story in the industry. I mean, he wasn't always with Navico. You know, he worked his way up through a lot of hard work and a lot of just absolute crushing it day after day, you know, day in, day out, doing a lot of things. He started an apparel company a while back called Down to Fish. And that kind of took off. I mean, it
really did.
Excellent concept. You know what I mean?
And execution too. At the time, I mean, like you said, dude, it was one of the brands, you know?
Right.
For sure.
No, he had a stellar situation going on. I mean, they had, you know, the trailer, they had a number of different things going around place to place, going to different shows, going to different events, things like that. And it was just awesome to see him putting so much heart and effort into getting the brand out there.
Yeah, it's tough to launch a brand for sure. And I felt like everywhere I turned, it was in my face. And that's just what you got to do. And it's a lot of work, like you said. So
no. So you're telling me, have you like knowingly fished against him before?
No, I don't know. I mean,
you don't know?
Not. But dude,
you're telling me that might have been you.
We'll find out. We'll see what lake it was.
Dude, I would be hard pressed to say it's not a Central Florida lake.
Then
he's probably right here in Central Florida and fishes all these. They used to fish all these bass clubs at least.
We're going to find out.
We're going to find out. So, Dave, what have you had going on today? What have you done since Tuesday?
On the road, hitting shops, getting product out there. So, working on some things behind the scenes with you, helping out Vector Hooks with getting some designs done, and very eventful day today. Got some
work done,
man. Dropped off a load of rods. Going to be at Okeechobee tomorrow. Dropping off another load of rods and seeing the shops over there in Okeechobee, Lake Placid. So
nice.
Another half dozen to hit tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, let's bring this guy in and see what we can do to figure out if that was you or not. I mean, that's what we're worried about. We're not really worried about
anything
out.
Yeah, we can let him go after that.
Yeah. Neal, how's it going, man?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Hey, Neal. How you doing, brother?
Good to be on, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for your time, bud. We appreciate you.
Hey, I got a quick question before we get started. What are those on the wall back there?
That is that's when I actually used to fish a ton. You know, those are all my dust collectors, I call them now. So we've got the mega garage going up, so they'll be moved over into a true trophy room here in the near future. So
nice.
got a couple FLW ones hidden in the mix from the college series and the teen days and just scattered tournaments. So it's
Nice.
got to display them, of course. Whenever I'm on my meetings with work or whatever the case is, got to let them know that it's product made by anglers for anglers.
Oh yeah, legit.
Proud, man. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So tell us about yourself. Tell us what you do now and how you got there. Kind of start from the beginning. You mentioned college fishing. How did all this evolve for you?
Yes. So going way back in the day, I graduated high school in 2008, and that's where it actually all began, was with a club called Teen Sport Fishing Association. And I never even had a boat. We fished, the Deltona Lakes in Central Florida, just bank fishing. And they came to town and said, you get to fish on boats. And, I went in there with a Zepco 33 for my first tournament and just a couple spinning rods. And then it quickly, took off from that end. And then by the time I was a senior, I had some scholarship money saved up, went over to Seminole State College, and the FLW tour for the collegiate series went through. And that's where I met Jordan Lee, Shea Baker. They were all there.
Yeah.
And, kind of got the real list of, this is a possibility. We can start this. And the Seminole State Community College transferred over to actual state college. So when that was the case, I actually ended up starting the Seminole State Fishing Club and was a president, founder for 4 years, and then also started Down to Fish, the apparel company, and started working on that. I didn't have a ton of money. I worked 40-hour weeks, went to school on Tuesday and Thursdays all day, and then just tried to fish tournaments here and there and wanted to fund everything myself. And then it was funny. I did my capstone project. Most of the time you have 5 to 6 classmates with you, and I did mine on Bitters Bait and Tackle, implementing a POS system, and had a couple job offers, turned that down, stayed at Bitters for a few years, and Bass Pro came to town in Daytona. So I took a job with them and ended up as their Marine team lead, knew nothing about electronics really prior to that point. And they said, you can have either the fishing department or you can have the Marine. So I said, let's learn something new. I don't know much about electronics. And within 6 months, learned a ton, applied for my first job with Navico, and actually had 3 of the other brands come and try to hire me on. And within 11 months, I ended up getting picked up by Navico, which is Lowrance, CMAP, Simrad, B&G. And I started as a retail account manager. Since my background was in retail, I looked over the Florida and Georgia states, and from there progressed up to now I'm a key account manager. So I look over big box office corporate locations, deal with all the buy-in, selling analytics. I've got 4 patents in with the company as well. So things are looking good. Been with them for about 3.5 years, and it's just couldn't have picked a better company to be with.
Yeah. That is awesome, man.
That's very cool.
Now, I remember talking to you shortly after you moved into the Marine department. You used to always talk about how you were the young gun and you were just hated by the older guys because you were just picking things up so quickly, and they were like not able to, right? They were just not able to mold into that position, and you were just like crushing it. I distinctly remember that.
That was and you bring that up. So we had a bunch of, part-timers at the Bass Pro Shops that were all elder guys that were retired. And they're like, how are you a manager of this department? And it was the greatest thing in the world because, everyone was collaborating together prior to the store opening because they weren't getting hit with the customers. And then the doors opened up and people, are coming in. I've got a 17-foot bass tracker. What pound thrust trolling motor I need, or what grass, or can you explain side imaging? And these guys had no knowledge at all. And I'm just going through coaching them and, answering the questions. And that's when they got the real reality check. But, it's one of those things when it's time to shine, you got to make sure that you got your eggs in a row. And it worked out very well there.
No, that sounds awesome. I mean, it sounds like you've really just like continuously challenged yourself, which is, awesome to see, especially at such a young age, moving up into the industry. I mean, it's got to be scary going from college, not having as much fishing experience as you do now, and kind of learning it and really just sucking it in and making it your almost, it really became your passion, obviously, with all the hardware you got behind you, but it's something that I've seen you grow with. I've paid attention to like Thomas Altoric, Hunter McCamey, who is it? Jesse. What is Jesse's last name?
Jesse Rudolph.
Yeah, Jesse Rudolph. Jesse's still a hammer. He's out there fishing the weeknights every now and again when he's not off shore. But it's like it's really awesome to see this really become you. I mean, you've owned it.
And that's the biggest thing. And I tell a lot of people, Seminole junior anglers, I've done meetings with them, and I try telling, the up and coming next generation is it's not about just going out there and saying, I want sponsors. You got to know your own net worth. And at the end of the day, you can either, go pro and, really try to hammer down, or you can go in the career side of things. And, you got the 401k, you got good salaries, you got the benefits, but at the same time, no one can take nothing away from you if you know exactly what it is. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a super smart gentleman, but I feel when it comes to knowing the product right and knowing, how to set up a boat and knowing the industry itself, no one can take that away from you. So if you want to do it, go all in. And at the end of the day, if you either know it or you don't. And if I want to be the best, I'm going to be the best at it. So it's always challenging yourself and stepping out of your comfort zone.
Sounds like a fishing trip for you and me when I get my new boat this year. Have the man dial it in for me.
I saw some photos. Andrew sent me some.
Oh, that wasn't with him.
That wasn't with me though.
No, that was with David Dudley.
Okay, yeah. I've seen the boat.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Now, one thing to note on that, we went out. We had less than an hour on the water. We had to go out. We had to catch a few fish. He had to get back on the road because he had to go up north, and we were on the water. And from the time that we got in the boat, he dialed in his graphs. He hopped up on the front deck, threw the trolling motor down, and it was just so effortless. How obviously he's paid to figure this stuff out. He's paid to know it. It's a working part of his career, but he did it so well that I would guarantee, like within an hour, if he was teaching me how to do it and everything that went on with it, I could have learned it so quickly. Like just from seeing him do real life experience.
And that's the biggest thing is how much the technology's changed. I mean, back in the day, power poles weren't even really a thing. You'd had a couple of boats running them, and you only had 2D sonar. So it's one of those things that you got to take it. It's your office, right? You got to take it to your advantage. And if you're not able to keep up with the times, and you still got those hammers that go super shallow and catch them, but if you want to stay consistent in this game, from the organization of waypoints to the structure overlay maps and seeing fish on live sonar, or lining up on a ledge correctly, you got to be able to do that these days if you want to compete.
Yeah,
no, 100%.
100%. These guys I've been fishing against the last couple tournaments. We've had some big ones over there at the Kissimmee chain, and those guys, I'm out there in the high driller right now, and those guys are literally 100 mile an hour on their trolling motors, pull up to an area, shut down, power pole down, and sit there, and their heads are down the whole time, looking at the graphs. And they were literally you could see them turning, like, okay, the fish is over here, make a few casts, and then on to the next one. It was so crazy, like the live and everything that you guys, have these days. Man, it's like a video game. It's like a video game. Mm-hmm. And to be able to have that in your hip pocket, when side imaging came out in 08 or 07, 08, I think it was, dude, I bought one right away. I won a pile of money off of it just because you could see those edges, those points, those things that you normally wouldn't see unless you ran them over. And it made such a world of difference. And I can't even imagine. I've yet to step on a boat with the live, whether it be Lowrance or the Garmin's version of it. It's crazy, man, to be able to see the fish at a distance, to know where to cast, to actually
to see the fish eat your lures.
Yeah, like a video game to trigger a bite. It's amazing where you guys are going with this stuff these days.
Yeah, it's funny once you actually run it, or you get it installed on your own boat. I always call it the active target rabbit hole, because you do nothing but look down. You got the sore neck the next couple of days because you're so stuck on looking at this. And the worst part is trying to know the size of the fish that you're playing with, because a lot of people jump on and they see movement, and a lot of times it's bluegill or crappie, and you actually know now if it's the actual bass because you can see their fins. And I actually had Ken Lucas. We've got a 25-acre lake that we live on. It's a private lake, and there's a floating dock, and he bombed his lure out there. And I'm used to seeing, like, I went to Lake Fork with it and played with it, and we're looking at 3 and 4 pounders, and you can actually see their whole definition. And he ends up bombing a swim bait out to this floating dock, and I see a fish, and I tell him, like, that's a bass. I can actually see its fins, and it comes down, and he catches it, and it ended up only being a 15-incher, and it's just crazy. At 50 foot, you can just define a 15-inch fish. Most of the time, they would be blobs, a couple of years ago with the technology versus now, you can actually see the pectoral fins and as they're swimming towards it. And it's just absolutely phenomenal on where it's gone.
Wow.
That was killer. Neal, we've got a
That's a good question too, Carlos.
Yeah. So what would you suggest for a kayak in terms of, it sounds, I don't know if he's a beginner or not, or if he's experienced, but
no, I know Carlos personally. He's definitely experienced. He just stepped up to I don't know what brand, but a pedal drive kayak. And he fishes a lot of Central Florida, North Central Florida kayak tournaments. And he's just now getting into a better kayak. So I think he's trying to get it to the next level and take it there, with everything you guys got going on. So what do you think, Neal? What do you think would be a good starting point for him?
So a good starting point is our new mid-tier, the Elite FS. And if you can, we have 3 different models. So we don't have a ton of, saltwater maps, inland maps, everything. It's got all the maps loaded. It's got either a transducer, a HDI transducer, which is a down scan and 2D sonar. And then the third option is it comes with the 3-in-1 transducer. So your side scan, down scan, 2D sonar, and the graph, of course. And I would lean towards like a 7-inch on a kayak, just because you got the touch screen, the zoom in, zoom out, the hook reveal. They're great models, they're great beginner ones. But if you're, starting to get into that tournament aspect of things, you've got both intercoastal and inland mapping, phenomenal unit for the price point. And we've really seen that mid-tier take that look of like that HCS Live product, more of our premium product line. So super fast processor. It's got a great high resolution screen. And then down the road, you can always upgrade to, live sonar if you want to do it. I know that sounds crazy on a kayak, but I've seen a ton of people actually adding live sonar. So
you'll be surprised.
It is.
I would say, I don't know why.
Unbelievable.
They make that money.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
Especially if you got a paddle, man. Dude, they have an advantage. Like, okay, there's a fish.
Oh yeah.
And no, you can stop paddling instead of okay, you got to keep paddling.
Yeah, it definitely sucks. That's a good thing he's got that.
I actually got some great screenshots over in Hollower Canal on one of our mid tiers, and it was one of the first times I really got into sonar. I was actually working at Bass Pro, and I won the actual Hobie kayak over at Gerber a couple of years ago, and I put that unit on, and it was funny. My girlfriend, we had to go out to dinner like a couple hours later, and I was like, I'm not going to fish. I just want to learn the grass. And she's like, no, you're going to fish. You're going to end up fishing. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to leave the rods at home. So I ended up leaving all my rods at home, which was the craziest thing I've ever done because all the fish aren't schooling at that point, right? And I ended up going up and down Hollover Canal, and I got some of the best screenshots I've ever seen. I mean, just from tarpon to fine, you can see their top fin, bottom fin, back.
That's insane. That's craziness.
It's
like you said, it's to me, it's like almost not fair, but it's where we're at with it all right now. So, you gotta have it. You gotta get it.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
We can. If you turn your phone sideways, it should straighten out the screen.
Maybe.
Is it working?
That was a good save.
Can you guys hear me now?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Maybe.
I can hear you.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
We'll figure this one out.
How about now?
Yeah, we've got you.
Okay. I can't hear you guys, unfortunately. Let me see if I can. I've got this Osteen internet that is in the middle of BFE land. Let's see if we can get something going on here.
Right. Like Dave was in the shed somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wherever he was.
Yeah.
All right. How about now, guys?
All right. Yeah. Yep. Hey, there we go.
Can you hear us now?
Did you mute him?
Neal's on mute.
Wait, I'm confused.
Yeah, Neal's on mute.
Neal, did you mute?
They muted themselves. Wait.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Okay, sorry, I was trying to come in through the phone. I live out in the boondocks, so sometimes we get some rough internet patches here and there.
Trust me.
No, you're good. You're good. So, what is? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say one of the biggest things that I think people have when you're trying to learn electronics, the toughest part is every time you go out there on the water, you give it 5 or 10 minutes where you say we're going to do nothing but actually graph. And then you go out there and then the fish coming up schooling or, they're blowing up bait and we just end up giving it up. So my number one thing I try to tell people, and we have a ton of YouTube videos, but if you get a chance, I know it's tough, but leave the rods at home and just dedicate 4 hours to doing nothing but going around it. Yeah, no, David saying no, not happening.
No,
not happening at all.
No, because I'm gonna find that brush pile loaded. I'm gonna find that school too. No.
It always happens like that.
Hey, I put my head down. I focus. I'll idle around. I will literally idle for hours and graph. But dude, when
when you see them, tell me you don't stop.
Yeah,
it's tough. That is.
Well, see, but that's what I'm talking about. Like being out on the water with David Dudley on Monday, I can watch YouTube video after YouTube video, but actually seeing it done in front of you and the actual experience of doing it. So I would totally be down to do that for a few hours. It would suck for me mentally because I would see all that stuff, but it's learning it and putting in the time is key 100%, especially if you want to get better at it.
You have to. And everyone. Yeah, you have to. And I've been running hummingbirds and, what I used to do is I would throw a rattle trap over the side of the boat, just bump it into gear and just graph, side scan and graph everything and just try to find those little nuances, try to find the shell beds,
little points,
those kinds of things. But man, I've seen a friend of mine's got the Lowrance system now and he's got the 3-in-1 live. It's oh my God, it's a night and day difference. I mean, I haven't seen the Garmin's, but man, that Lowrance, I was highly impressed. And I know it's a little more work. It's not as user friendly, but when you get to learn it, it's very easy. Like you were saying, Neal, you have to put your time in and, get familiar with your units, and someone like yourself, that's picked it up so quick. It's nice to know that, like myself, if I do get my new boat and it comes with the Lowrances, we're going for a boat ride. I want to know the very, in depth inside. Yeah. I want to know the depth of that whole unit, period. And to know it, with someone like you is knowledgeable, man, that's huge. It goes a long ways, and talking about Jordan Lee, I might even give him a phone call at the end of the year for a Ranger Yamaha Lowrance package. So
yeah. And you got to put in your time. Like you said, Dave, I know people that have go ahead, Neal. Go ahead, Neal. You're good.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I was lagging.
No, I was
lagging. You're fine.
I know people that have, $10,000 in electronics and only use 1,500 worth of it. You got to put in your time and you got to, like Neal said, YouTube's such a great resource to learn the little ins and outs. And I stay on YouTube all the time watching something, even if it's how to throw a frog. I know how to frog fish, but it's the same principle. You keep looking, keep learning, and you got to put in your time on the water with them and learn the ins and outs of your units. It's sad when I see people only using half of what they have and not even taking full advantage of that equipment on that boat. So
yeah, I mean little things like that for your frogs.
Little things you pick up.
You got the big thing too is using everything together from the power poles to the side imaging. I mean, the biggest thing that I tell a lot of people that they don't realize it is on the HES series, how you've got all your quick access keys. You actually have a total of 9. You got the 4 short press, long press, and then the long press pages button. So if I'm fishing Toho, for example, we know there's semi-grass, we know there's hydrilla, we know there's a ton of brush pile, and we know that there's a ton of shell bars. So as I go through every single one of my short press keys, I usually do one as a fish, as an individual fish icon. I do one as a tree for my brush piles. I do one as the eelgrass, just for any open water grass, and the last one being a shell bar. So as you're running down the lake, let's say you're running from Toho back to the north end, and it's in the middle of summer, and I want to focus on brush piles, I don't have a bunch of blue dots on my actual chart itself. I've actually say, okay, I'm going to hit all these brush piles, and I can see as I'm bouncing through the lake, here's a brush pile versus you trying to peck at the screen at 70, 8 miles an hour and trying to, pinpoint, is that a brush pile or is that a grass patch or a shell bar?
So with your systems that you're using and your Lowrances and stuff on pad, what is about the speed that you recommend for reading graph and stuff like that as you're running? I mean, obviously you're not going to run 70 mile an hour and be able to read anything, but what is on plane or an idle that's going to give you, is there, I know there's a difference, but can you step it up to cover more water, or is it something where you're pre-fishing and you see something, you're idling around type thing, or?
Yeah, so a lot of that's going to depend on transducer placement. So on a bass boat, I personally like to keep my side. I run 2 transducers most of the time. I'll do a shoot through a whole puck so I can run on plane. And then I have a down scan and side scan. Instead of a 3-in-1, I like a 2-in-1 up high, because most of the time I'm, trying to pull the John Cox status where I'm bumping into things. I'm most likely going to rip it off. So I like to keep it higher up. With that aspect on 2D sonar, I mean, I can peg bottom at 60 miles an hour and I can still see humps if it's in a good position. But our side scan and down scan, we're not going to see anything past a fast idle. Our R&D boat, for example, though, our Triton, and I hate to say this on air because we always tell everyone 2 to 6 miles an hour on side scan, that's it. I took that thing down to Lake Fork and I was running like 40 miles an hour and still picking up side scan. And I know a lot of people are like, there's no way you can run. There was a couple of videos when active imaging 3-in-1 first came out of people running like 28, 29 miles an hour and picking up like perfect clear bottoms. But that transducer needs to be in the perfect spot. I mean, still getting good definition. So, and when I'm saying that 40 miles an hour, I'm not picking up, defined trees. I'm picking up, humps, and I can at least see slight drop-offs. But that's like perfect, very, very rare cases. So most of my time, I'm just fast idling. If I'm looking for a side scan, it's usually like 3.4 miles an hour. I'll keep my little speed indicator up top left. And then the other thing is knowing the angle of the transducer. So your 2 biggest things on side scan, in my opinion, are going to be your voltage, making sure you have a nice thick gauge wire. Sonar Pros makes a great 8 gauge wire straight to the battery. So voltage is one. And then the second thing is where you're angled at. Because if you think about it, a bass boat sits like this, if your transducer is even off the back on the trailer, it's sit like that as well. So a lot of times we pull a quarter trick where I'll have the boat idling and then you put a couple quarters underneath it to where that's level. And then now once I get back home, you'll jack the trailer up and you'll get to that same level. And that's where you even out your transducer. And then throw a little speed indicator on the top left of your graph and idle around and see what works best for you. I mean, color wise, most of the time I'm 80 to 100 foot out. And a lot of it's preference. I mean, you have people like Jacob Wheeler that'll run a white palette, and then you'll have myself in the mornings. I like to run that greenish color. And then middle of the day, I like yellow because I feel I get more contrast. But I do it for a living. And it's different when, you're doing nothing but graphing. I mean, half the time I don't even fish anymore. I'm just out there playing around on the graph, taking screenshots to actually show off what we have.
Yeah, I like running the blue. I like running the blue when it's overcast and stuff like that. And I like running the orange when that sun's out myself personally. Yeah. Question for you. I heard that it does make a difference. There's a harness you can get to really clean up your system as well. Is that true?
Yeah, so the biggest thing on the harnesses is a lot of boats, when people buy them, they run into the accessory panels. And that's the same wiring they used back 10 years ago when we didn't have touch screens and we were using our fingers as ground. And a 7-inch unit was ginormous back then, right? Now we're putting 12 and 16-inch units that are drawing, 3.6 amps. So that's a huge, huge difference. And I know if you go on like Sonar Pros on their Instagram and check that out, you'll actually see the difference in clarity images because it's getting that correct drawage. And the other issue is I see a lot of customers, whether it's on a kayak or on a bass boat, if you're pecking at the screen and it's super laggy, or you're not getting that good response rate, your finger's working as a grounding agent, so you're not getting proper voltage to that actual unit because we're just jumping to the accessory panel instead of straight to the battery like it should be. So I tell everyone those 2 main things are transducer placement and voltage, and mainly voltage is my number 1 key is to harp on.
That is really good.
Some good information.
That's really good. Yeah, because my buddy was having a problem and he thought it was the unit. and all it was the harness. And when you put the harness on there, it literally was like you go from regular TV to HD TV, like literally.
And a lot of the units that we actually get back as defects, I think it was like 2 years ago. I haven't gotten the statistics in the past year, but I want to say like 64% of the units that were actually sent back to us as bad, they were actually all fine. It was just improper voltage or user error on that end. So it's absolutely, amazing. I tell everyone, if we made bad products, we wouldn't be in business, right? So the biggest thing is just going out there and understanding it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I would have never thought to even think about that. So that's crazy.
So real quick, you brought up like the size of the screen, right? So 16 inches. A few years back, I was filming a commercial with Rick Cotton, who fished the FLW side, and on his boat, he had 3 16-inch screens. I think he was with Garmin at the time. He had 3 16-inch screens at his console and 2 up top. When is too much, or is there an actual usage for that level of screenage? I mean, that's a lot.
So it is a lot, but at the same point, when you're getting that high definition look and you go from a 7-inch screen, my personal perfect setup would end up being always 2 units at the helm. I just like having a fully dedicated side scan. You get some pros that are running, the left side scan and right side scan. My personal preference, I love having nothing but a side scan, and then I'll end up having it set up as a 2D sonar, down scan, and a full chart screen. So everyone's at their preference. I think 16 is pretty big. If you could go 19, or into a 20-inch realm, I think people would end up running them. But to that point, it ends up being a little bit too tall for your view. I mean, I'm not that tall. I'm only 5'8" on a good day. So for me, I'm pulling this number. I'm trying to bring, I got to jump in a friend's boat and I got a booster seat with me just to see past it, right?
Dude,
Yeah.
I've got a good friend of mine, man. I give him that crap all the time because he owns a brand new Triton, and the Tritons all squat, so they all have a pitch, the bow up, and he's got 2 units, and he's 5'8". He's 5'8", and I ride him every time I see him come in. He's coming out.
See past that. Yeah, and I really just, to me, the 2 graph unit thing works out so good because if we had a 16-inch screen and we make 4 squares with that, it actually turns it into 4 7-inch screens. And to me, bigger is better, but at a certain point, like I said, you get a little too tall. So I think, in my opinion, either 212 or 216 at the helm, and then having. It used to be 1 unit for me up front, but I'm digging the whole 2 screens now, only because 1 full dedicated to a live sonar is definitely needed now. It just saves so much time too. And it's funny, we went out to Texas for a filming out there with the whole Lowrance crew. We had the product guys, and I showed up and everyone's fishing, and there's the entry level boat that didn't have live sonar, and I'm like, why aren't you fishing, Luke? Who's our EVP of sales, and he's like, I'm not fishing on a boat without live sonar. We're in Lake Fork. So I'm like, whatever. I took the boat out. The next day I played with the live sonar, and that was back in the beginning of the year. And then same thing, everyone took the boats out, and the hook reveal was the boat was there. My boss was like, why don't you go out there? I'm like, I'm not fishing without live sonar. We'd go into a cove, and you'd literally shine. You wouldn't even cast because you'd shine in the cove, and you'd see 0 fish on the tree, and you wouldn't even want to waste your time. You just grab the trolling motor and go out to the next one. And I had the same thing happen about 2 weeks ago. I was doing a university for a retailer called Shields, and I took the boat out. We were all docked up, getting ready to do our on the water training the next day. So all our guys are rigging their boats up, and Mickey had to go up to his truck. So I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna troll your boat around here. And I made 1 cast with the open, and I saw something on the graph, and I pitch out to it, and it wasn't far enough. So I reeled it in, and I pitched a little bit further, dropped the lure right down where I see it, reel it in. I jump it, and I end up catching like a monster crappie. And I had 3 casts, and I caught that fish. I threw it down. I'm like, I'm done. I'm good.
I can't believe that.
Wasting any more of my budget.
Pulling into a cove like that, that's 20, 30 minutes. You just didn't.
100%. And a lot of people keep asking, at what point does it get banned? And the worst part, once you start using that live sonar, you figure you waste a lot of time. I mean, these fish have gotten smart. Look at the Alabama rig, right? So, you're not going to catch every fish you see. You can see the reaction. But the other tough part is how tight that cone angle is. We're only 18 degrees. So a lot of customers go to throw out there, and they're not actually waving that trolling motor. So the real secret is when you're out there casting, you want to wave the cone angle really slow, or the trolling motor back and forth, and lock onto that lure. and then try to keep it on there. Because if you're going too fast, it's not actually able to pick up that lure when you're just, going from 180 degrees back and forth and you're fanning ridiculously quick.
That's amazing, dude. That blows my mind. So that cone angle being the way
how mind blown are you?
Dude, I'm this is like, I could talk all night about that. I mean, this is like, sitting there thinking about it, because obviously this is what I do too. I'm picturing over in Kissimmee last weekend, and having that cone to be able to shine out when that wind got up to 30 mile an hour to be able to see my hydrilla, would have been, oh my God.
Fruitful, bro. It would have changed your freaking day.
And not only that, pull up to the hydrilla and be like, scan through the hydrilla, because that's what it does. It scans through the hydrilla. You can see fish in the hydrilla. And that's what blew my mind. It was like, okay, this little patch doesn't have a fish on it. Oh, wait, there's one sitting on the back side of it. And it's like, what?
Yeah, see the fish, catch the fish, man. It's crazy, isn't it?
Wow.
I just love watching YouTube videos of people working it, and it's just amazing. It's just amazing. Yeah. I definitely got to get it on the old tracker. That's going to be insane.
And to throw the clarification on the YouTube videos that you guys see with the sonar, just so everyone's aware, a lot of times you see it on the boat, it looks phenomenal, and you throw it in on the SD. So you can throw in a blank SD card on your Lowrance 32 gig or smaller and record that video. A lot of times when you bring it back to the house and actually go to play that video, it doesn't look as crisp. You're like, man, that fish looked a lot better out in person. The reason being is when we record that sonar, the unit during that lifetime presentation, it's processing everything and keeping it clean. When you actually record that video, it's picking up all that sound rejection, everything in there, just in case you want to go back and add any noise or anything to that as well. So it may not look as clear. So if a customer is out there and you're like, man, it looked way better on the water. The reason being, it's the same thing when we record our side scan, down scan. You can go back in time. I do this with the Lake Conway all the time with the helicopter, and I can turn up from down scan to 2D sonar, and you can turn up the contrast, turn it down, noise rejection. You can do all that in the recording. So it's absolutely awesome to go back in time and actually see that too.
So one question I have for you too, getting a little more technical on your map overlays, your lake map overlay, being able to overlay what's in front of you with the map itself. How precise and how detailed is that new Lowrance, like on those overlays? See, I haven't been able to fish it offshore yet, anything deeper than 6 foot of water, really.
Yep.
So I don't know, how intricate that finding that one little 2 foot drop off of an edge or a point or something is.
We've come a far way on the CMAP side. So there's a couple different overlays we can do. We can actually do what's called our Genesis Live, which is everyone's used to the 1 foot contour. You can actually do a 1/2 foot contour on that side. Same thing, you add a blank SD card, you go in. But I don't use that one a ton in Florida. What I end up using is what's called our structure overlay, where you actually take your side scan and you put it on the map itself. And the reason I like doing that is I can actually make an entire map. I call it mowing the grass. So the one great benefit with it is as you're going up and then you're coming across, I can see, am I wasting any space? Because if you go too wide, that brush pile may have been right here and we went completely around it. And then the second thing we can also do is know for, overlaying too much. So I can go to that perfect width and you can actually make an entire map. So now if I'm fishing a tournament and I've got, a partner or I've got a co-angler and I want to backboat him, I can actually see the brush piles right here. There's a grass patch right here, and I can completely change the way I line up my boat. Right, left, right. It's not just the waypoint. Because you can actually see if
I will learn that technique.
and you can just tell your setup, same thing. So if you have something that's, that's elongated like this pen, and if I line the boat up here and I'm casting, I'm in a small width area of, I'm going to, that the chance of that bass being stuck or eating here, getting stuck in the brush pile versus if I have that brush pile right here and I position my boat, I can fan cast and hit multiple directions and have a wider swoop, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can
it's all about angles.
See where you're set up on there.
Yeah, positioning on the brush piles is crucial, man.
Yeah, when you find have that waypoint in that grass, those fish don't go anywhere, but you only catch so many, and then you got to let them rest. But if you're coming in at different angles, and not just one angle, you're doing, a 360 around that whole area and vice versa, and zigzagging, horizontal, vertical, changing up those angles. You will catch fish throughout the whole day doing that, and that's something with a brush pile as well, where what I like to do is if I know where it's at and with these units, sitting off of it and fish into it, because a lot of times those fish won't lock onto that brush pile. They'll be 50 feet, 100 feet off of it.
Right.
And, with that unit and that map overlay, I mean, you'll know whether that little shell bed is, or that little hump, or that little drop, or that little ditch that they might be laying in before they move on to that pile. That's huge, man. That map overlay plays a big game when you're offshore fishing. Big time. And
you can we even do that on our entry level product now, which is absolutely crazy to me, right? I mean, you can buy a hook 5 triple shot reveal and actually do structure scan overlay on this entry level $399 product. It's just absolutely crazy that where it's going, and the technology and being able to run that. I mean, originally, we used to have the structure scan box and all that, and the Ethernet, and I helped a buddy on his boat the other day. He was taking everything out, and we just had a bundle of cables and wires. I mean, even the temp sensor was NEMA 2000 and separated, versus now everything's just built into that transducer, and the unit's way bigger. It was just hilarious to see that 15 pounds came out of the boat just by upgrading the same unit of just today's time versus
that's what I didn't like. That's what I didn't like about the older models, was you had to have so much stuff and so many wires to hook up one unit. And that's one of the reasons why I did the Humminbird as well. One, it was user friendly, but I didn't have to have all that stuff, and that was big to me, because at the time I didn't have a real big boat where I could afford to put that kind of stuff in there. It took up too much space. But now, like you said, it's just the unit, the transducer, your power, get everything lined up, hooked up, and interlink, your units from the bow to your dash if you're running bow units as well. I mean, that's amazing, man. And when you're running your two systems, obviously you have your side scan on the one. That's always a unit in itself. Do you run a split screen, or do you run just your map as far as on your second unit? And what do you do on the front as far as your two units as well? What are you showing on your two units on the bow?
Yep. So normally starting out at like the bow end of the spectrum, I run just a straight active target, and running ghost trolling motor with a 3-in-1 now, and I run chart with chart overlay, and I'll tell you guys why here in a second. I run my 2D sonar, and then I'll run just a full side scan. So a couple cool things on the bow. Of course, we have the active target as one dedicated piece, which is our 18-degree angle. I normally keep that in the forward position. Well, now that we have the ghost trolling motor with a 3-in-1, you can get built into that. I'll actually take the trolling motor and I can actually turn it. And you can almost create your own 360 map with your structure overlay. But at the same point, I never used to like 3-in-1s on the front because you'd have the cable, but having it built into the actual trolling motor now, you can actually see live time to your left or to your right. So as I'm coming up to a dock, I can see, and you guys would be amazed how many brush piles are just further out from a dock as I'm coming up. So instead of picking it up when I'm 20 foot past it, because it's picking up from the transducer in the back of the boat, I can actually pull it up from the front left now.
I want this so bad.
Oh, that's just dumb. That's truly just dumb. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's like a video game. Everybody says it, but damn, man, that's how much. So let me ask you this. You're obviously a good angler. You've got your trophies on the backside there. How much better of an angler have you become learning this system?
Oh, we lost him.
We lost him. He'll hop back in. He was having a little bit of difficulty. Let me ask you guys this: how mind blown are both of you right now?
Oh, I'm mind blown.
Yeah, it's not like I didn't know, but to hear it described and broken down like he's doing it right now is blowing my mind.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. No, the dude is a genius. Like he knows his craft,
and his thought process behind his setup up front is awesome. Like It's still mind blowing. But Dave, ask that question again because I'm curious to hear the answer.
Yeah,
you got us, Neal.
You got us, Neal?
Yeah, sorry, I'm dropping off the computer and I'm just going straight cell phone now. Sorry, guys.
No, you're good, man.
With all those trophies behind you, obviously you're a stick. You're a damn good angler. You're advanced. You know what you're doing out there in the water. How much better of an angler have you become with them units? And look, cut and dry. I mean, I know my game has stepped up with rods that I represent. So I want to know about you personally and your units. How much better of an angler have you become?
So unfortunately, all of these were pre-Navico stage before I actually learned my electronics. I got out of the whole tournament fishing aspect for a couple of years just because I put my head down and did nothing but studying, learning the product, and just trying to up my career on that aspect. But the angler side is just completely changed. I mean, all those pictures you saw of those big bass I saw at the beginning, I was laughing at that when I was coming in on where we caught those, but it is completely changed all of my fishing tactic. I mean, just from how I line up to things, how I fish, because a lot of times I would end up wasting so much time, I feel, practicing because there's so much water. Yeah, because you're passing so much, you're eliminating so much water. So my offshore game used to be horrible back in the day, and I feel now it's absolutely phenomenal because I'm not wasting time. So even though I'm idling around for an hour or 2 hours, I'm eliminating 70% of the water.
Yeah. That becomes. I
gotta ask you, what body of water were you on for this?
So that one was Stick Marsh. You hear a lot of the hype about headwaters, and I've gone to headwaters a couple times, had a blast, and I'm like, my theory, and we all have our different theories. Anglers are always, we're pros in our own mind. So I figured that, hey, everyone's out there hammering down on headwaters. I'm gonna go try Stick Marsh, since no one's probably getting any pressure on that side or giving it any pressure. So we ended up going out there, and that was the last time I went bass fishing, which was about a month and a half ago, unfortunately, and it was just a sleigh fest, man. We hammered down that day, and we had a couple of big ones that we missed with it, but that was a plus 30-pound day, and absolute blast.
I've got a guide, Kenny Haas, and he's out of the Fellsmere Outdoor Shop there, and Kenny Haas has loved it because everybody keeps going to headwaters. This year, he's got 11. Yep. He's got a 12. He's got multiple fish between 8 and 10 pounds caught on Stick Marsh because everybody else has been going to do everything, other areas. He's had it all to himself. He's catching them on big 7-inch jerk shads. He's catching them on wacky rigging, big sinkinos. Awesome. He's catching them on swim baits.
Probably whatever the hell he wants.
He had a 75 fish with customers day. Spro frog. On a Spro frog with customers. Had 3 fish over 8 pounds.
That's awesome.
Had 3 fish over 8 pounds. He said majority of them were 4 to 6. I was like, dude.
That sounds like a very fun day of frogging.
I don't know what that's like.
And
I don't know if I ever will.
That's another perfect place where, to me, they're always in 2 areas. They're either going to be up shallow, on the brush, they're going to be out deep on the humps or on the brush, or you're going to be up shallow. And that morning, I ended up graphing everything out deep, and I ended up, making a handful of casts, and I'm using an active target. And I told my buddy, I'm like, they're usually on brush, but they're not here, and we had a little bit of rain a couple days prior to that, and it dropped that water temperature down enough, and told myself, let's go shallow, because if they're not out deep. And sure enough, we went shallow, and you can actually see, in 4 foot of water, you can see them swimming around on active target, and we just smoked them, man. So same thing there, it takes an hour and a half, but at least I know they're not offshore 100%. I'm going to see them if they're there, and they're not, unfortunately. And
I'll fish 3 or 4 hours out there. I'm prepared to catch a fish like that. Now, 3 or 4 hours of screwing around out there to figure it out. Hey, I'm good. That's solid fish, and it was funny because they were targeting the edges of the grass in 5 foot of water, 6 foot of water. They were targeting those edges. And with that unit, that's something you could really focus on. And especially with that 18% 18-inch cone. That there is just to be able to keep yourself on target like that, no matter if it's a 50-yard stretch, 100-yard stretch, but if those fish are keyed in on the edges of that grass and that subtle drop off of that 1 foot, 2 foot from 5 to 7, man, dude, I couldn't even imagine. I couldn't even imagine having a unit like that and to sit there in the juice all day. I mean,
that's literally what you do with it. I mean, oh man, I got to get one. That little tracker's going to be so weighed down.
Yeah, Joe's going to be your test dummy for the 20 on the little tracker.
I don't know if we can handle the 216s up front.
What's funny that
we're running 2 9s up front.
Every time I jump on a friend's boat, if they don't, hey, that's good. You got 2 units. That's a big key for me. It's funny. Yeah. I've got a suction cup mount for my 12-inch unit and that 3-in-1. So I'll go on like a buddy's boat and I'll actually suction cup my 12-inch onto a cooler. I'll turn the cooler sideways. I'll do that, and I'll suction cup the actual the transducer off the back of the boat. 'Cause I tell my friends, I'm like, if you don't have sides or structure scan, I'm not going on your boat. And no one believes it until they go out there and they see, because it's such a game changer. Again, you know, all the offshore fish you're finding, especially come summertime. And then we actually just came out with a sweet little battery too. I mean, that thing's tiny. It's a 10 amp hour battery that we make. And I'll plug it into that there and let it go to town.
Unreal.
Yeah.
So speaking of new products, are you going to be at ICAST by chance?
Yes, I will be there this year. Be there Tuesday through Friday.
Tuesday and Friday? Or through Friday?
Tuesday through Friday, yes, sir. I've got a couple of meetings with my key customers, and we work in the booth as well.
Awesome. Well, we'll stop by and see you. But
we're going to stop by and see Neal.
Is there anything that we should look for that you're able to talk about now?
Yeah, what's on the up and coming?
Yeah.
On the up and coming, I would just be very be on the blue train is all I got to say, because you know it's a full network, and the open package too is what I tell everyone. I mean, you see from the live sonar to the ghost trolling motor to your power poles to the engine communication. I mean, it's come such a far way, and especially how much you see what's progressed. I mean, coming from the ghost trolling motor to you guys see the live sonar and the lead FS. I mean, I think we've taken some huge strides in the company, and that's just the beginning, I feel. So we've got a bunch of cool things coming, and we'll see. Of course, everyone's got the shortages and supply and demand on trying to get this stuff built. So ICAST might be a tough one for getting new product out, but I'd be definitely be on the lookout for what's come for us.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely do that, man.
So I've got one last question for you. Last question. You got a spare unit in your garage?
Yeah. I got, actually, I'll show you all real quick. I don't have it. It's kind of a mess. I just got back from vacation, but I've got an entire wall of nothing, and I've even got my old green box right here, and we've got active target up top, and we've got units on top of units. So I definitely have the ultimate office setup, and I just got what I built. I call it the mega garage. So we're gonna have the full display and everything set up in that end, and live sonar. So even on like my desk right now, I've got the dual monitors, a computer, because we do a lot of YouTube videos with live chat. So I'll even take a RAM out during the live chat, and I'll actually mount the RAM mount to the side of my desk. So I've got technically 3 monitors if you're including my computer, and then I've got the live unit running just in case we've got any technical questions on in-depth stuff. So it comes naturally, though. I tell everyone. I told my boss, I'm like, I told my boss I'm the perfect associate, because I'm half Indian, half white. This kind, not that kind. So I tell him, I'm like, look, I got the IT side down, and then I got the fishing stuff down too. So I'm like the perfect blend of Navico salesman.
That's awesome, dude.
That's awesome. So when are you getting your 2022s then? When are you getting your 2022s? Because hey, look, I'm a fan of the 21s. I'm just saying, and I know you can't just let them sit and collect dust. I'm just saying.
When you have a mega garage sale, be sure to let Dave know.
Yes.
I like garage sale.
We can lock your doors when Dave's in town, because he's coming in.
No, that's awesome.
He'll be there.
That's very That's amazing. Talking with you, you definitely opened my eyes to a lot of things, that I knew a lot, but I didn't know some of that stuff you were talking about and just how detailed. And man, I'll tell you, you opened my eyes. Definitely.
And we could, if you guys want to during ICAST time as well, do a on the water piece. We can go through and do a 100%. Rundown of a full unit setup of how I'm running my electronics, what I do.
100%.
I mean, it's one thing to talk about it, but when you actually see, the key functions on the Ghost trolling motor, how to line up, and Lake Conway is a great one because you got the helicopter and the school bus, and people can actually see the definition of how clear it is. And it's just a great setup on there.
Do me a favor and shoot me a time that works for you once you got your appointments and everything figured out, and we'll make it work for us.
Get in there.
Okay,
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I know you'll be a lot busier than we will. Well, we'll be all over the place.
Yeah,
but
we're gonna be.
We don't have a schedule.
Like chickens with their heads cut off.
Okay.
Yeah,
but we're going on that. We're checking.
I'm definitely out for that. Dave will love it.
Okay, yeah, we'll do it. I'll get a full rig boat for you guys, and we'll do the tour.
Awesome, Neal, man. I appreciate it so much. You've enlightened us a lot, and I'm 100% grateful. So
yes,
we'll see you soon at ICAST, and until then, man, I hope you have a great one, and we'll try to get back on here after ICAST sometime.
All right, sounds good, guys. I'll
Great.
see you then.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time, bud.
Have a great night.
Bye.
Dude, what a dude, man. Like, honestly.
And think about this. We didn't even scratch the freaking surface with
No, you can't. You can't.
We don't have enough time. Like,
you can't.
No, we talked about keeping this to a half hour, and it like the information just kept flowing and flowing.
It's just I just want to go out and scan right now. Like, that's all I want to do. Like,
Joe, you were just sitting there just like
yeah. Well, it's one of those things where, like, I know what it is, I know what it can do, but like to hear the why behind everything and like understand how he has it set up and why this is this, and the small little things are what make those graphs and that technology what it is. And if you don't know that, you're like I said, there's a lot of people that have a lot of money in their electronics but don't know what they're doing with it, or don't access that full plethora.
Well, they buy that $80,000 boat and don't know how to drive it, and don't know what all the equipment is on it, and you see it everywhere. I mean, it is literally everywhere. Can't back trailer, can't drive.
Can't do anything.
Now, I'll tell you, I can back a trailer. I've got that one. I can drive the boat, but when it comes to reading the graphs, I'm going to have to spend some time and learn that.
You will, but it'll change you.
I can read a graph pretty good, but today's technology, I would love to test my knowledge, and it's gone to such a direction where I would probably have to relearn today's technology on reading the graph, like your setup, your gains and things like that, just your overlays, your whole. I'd have to relearn that whole thing because the units I have are old units.
Right.
I couldn't even imagine the clarity. Like, I'm seeing pictures in 18 and 19 foot of water from Mike at Lake Placid. He's out there in 18, 19 foot of water showing me shell cracker beds and little shell crackers sitting in the
actual shell crackers. Yeah.
Fish sitting in the beds. It's amazing. And just the little honeycombs and the little fish swimming around. And then you'll see one larger fish off to the side, and it's like, oh,
I know what that is. Right? Yeah, and I'm probably right there with you, Dave. We got hooky. We run Hook Elite 9s, and that's nothing compared to what these guys are running, and what kind of feedback they're getting on these units.
Technology just evolves so quickly. Like, how do you truly keep up? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you can.
No,
unless you're forced to have the new product. Like, you're in either his position or some like. He does a great job of, like, he's an alchemist, understanding the placement of the transducers is huge, because if it's in the wrong place, you're not going to get the right image.
Extremely huge. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you don't learn that unless you're actually going through and running the process.
Or you give up on it. A lot of people, like, you'll have it. You're like, oh, this crap ain't working. And you just give up on it instead of making that small adjustment, that half-inch adjustment on your transducer to read correctly. But
no, I can tell you, I'm going to have like 50 batteries for this thing, and handful of batteries on this, and we're just going to get as much fun stuff as we can.
You just need like a backpack, like of lithium batteries, like charging your equipment the whole time.
I should, but no, guys, let's kill this one. We'll come back Tuesday. We've got Justin Morgan coming up on Tuesday, so that'll be another good show. And then the following Thursday, we've got Mr. Mickley.
Oh,
all right. Now he is on the Navionics side, so we'll have a fun conversation, little comparison, little competitive nature. But he is going to give us some but basically like tactic and technical insight on understanding what you're seeing in the water and how to apply it, what you know, to make your day a lot better. So that'll be a great show.
Yeah,
it's a good second Thursday.
Yeah, that'll be an awesome, epic show. So
Joe, yeah, you're gonna love that show, buddy, because Andrew and I are gonna take it's gonna be, you're gonna get a lot of laughs in, Joe. You're just gonna be sitting there laughing the whole time.
I'm good with that.
Paul likes to give it to Andrew and I. So
it's gonna be something.
He's
doesn't show up dressed as Stone Cold, I'm kicking him off. He will be the first person banned. No, I'm just no. But guys, I appreciate it. Carlos, everybody else, Dave, Jacob, appreciate you joining in, and we will see you guys next week.
See you guys.
Peace.